Welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast, episode 177.
Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast. I'm Don Cardenas, and today I'm joined by writer of the new book on Kickstarter, Secret Lives of Demon Hunters, Michael Barron. Michael, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You sent over a preview of the book, which is going to be on Kickstarter, hopefully around the time of posting. I'll make sure there's links and everything in the show notes below. The Secret Lives of Demon Hunters, it looks really great. I really like the preview I saw. Looks really interesting. The art looks great. Tons of cool stuff that looks like it's going to be about and happening. But, rule of the show, we got to go with this. Comics Coffee Metal, what have you been digging lately?
Well, if I'm going to be 100% honest, I am not much of a coffee drinker. This might sound a little odd, but I handle my alcohol a lot better than I handle my caffeine. I have a couple beers and I'm absolutely fine, but I have half a cup of coffee and I start to get a little jittery. So I usually wake up in the morning with just some tea, usually just black tea. Nothing super fancy. I'm not at all a snob by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. You did mention that you're a big hot sauce fan, though.
Yes.
And while not technically a drink, it is something that I know is liquid you ingest, I guess. That'll be our segue for it. So are you? I like hot sauce, hot stuff like that. But I have my limits in terms of like when it just becomes pain. I'm not. I can't breach that threshold. And there's a certain point where things get so hot. There's a certain like flavor profile to things that are that hot that I just don't care for. Mm-hmm. And to me, I did the Pocky Hot Chip Challenge a couple years ago, and the heat wasn't the worst thing. It was like the flavor of it.
Okay.
That was hard for me. And the best I could describe it as was this like artificial blueberry, because it's like no one know. I've mentioned this to several other people who have had it or tried it or whatever. And like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, I don't know, just for me, just like the way it hit me is just like, that's what made me like, just like not be able to like stand it. It's like, oh, this is just gross. But I do like some hotter things. About where's your kind of limit with hot sauces and hot stuff like that?
Well, first of all, I'm intrigued by artificial blueberry spicy something.
Just like it was like heat and then that flavor, and I'm just like, it was so off-putting to me that it was just like it. Yeah, like granted, it was hot as hell. Like I was like, oh yeah, this is more hot than I want to deal with. Obviously it's just a dumb challenge to do or whatever, but like that, what made it worse was that flavoring. There's these fig bars that we all like, but my kids and my wife like the blueberry flavor of it. What was it, Nature's Bakery or something? Valley? I don't know. Nature's Bakery, I think it's called.
Okay.
It do like Fig Newtons, but like big and
gotcha.
The other flavors are really good, and I don't think it's an artificial blueberry flavor in there or whatever, but like it just reminds me of that, and it was such a weird like dichotomy of things where I'm just like, this is too much. And I've had that a little bit because for a couple of years in a row, my wife's gotten me like the little hot sauce gift sets or whatever.
Yep.
And while I don't dislike the last dab from the set, like it does have hints of like that kind of like just that chemically artificial flavor to me that I just like, it just doesn't taste good. So I don't feel like dealing with the heat.
This might sound weird, but I'm both put off and intrigued by this. Like I kind of want to try it myself. But even though I know that's not at all what you're going for. In terms of like my threshold with spice, I feel like compared to like most people I know, it's pretty far. And I'm always like kind of like, there's always that point where it's like, this really is just pain, but I'm also kind of having fun with it. I'm also kind of enjoying the challenge. compared to people who are just like spice obsessed, like,
Yeah.
then it's like, never mind. Like, don't,
Yeah.
you know, I kind of discovered I like spicy food. I think it was around fifth grade when I started putting Frank's Red Hot on popcorn,
Okay.
which, I got a lot of judgment from friends for.
No, I
But
get it. I get that combo.
try it. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's very good. I still use it to this day. Like, Frank's is not by any stretch of the imagination, the hottest hot sauce, but it is
No, but it's a start.
yeah, it's
It's a
in a
gateway.
very special place in my heart, since that was like my, sort of like how Scream was my first horror movie,
Hmm.
Frank's was my first hot sauce.
Okay. Both excellent gateways
Hmm.
into those individual subjects, I guess. No, I definitely I think if it's yeah, for me it's just really about the flavor because I will like on a standard basis like have like um I think my favorite go to just like if I just call it a daily one, which I don't do daily just because
Hmm.
um you know if people want to consider TMI or not, but I've mentioned before, like I had my gallbladder removed like a decade ago, and ever since then, uh, I have to be cool with like how much spicy stuff I ingest
I am sure. Yeah.
because my body's just like, no, no,
Mhm.
even though you like it, I don't like you having this anymore, or that much of it. But like the Black Label Valentina hot sauce, I don't know if that's available where you're at. Kind of
I'm
like
open to it.
they're comparable to like a Tapatio or a Cholula, but
Okay.
it's the Black Label one is a little bit hotter in my opinion.
Okay.
But I also really like the which one was it? The again the hot ones one. Which one is it though? It's like their middle of the road one. I forget what it's called now. Los Calientes.
Okay.
There's a green one and a red one. I like the green one a lot.
Okay.
That one's really good with like eggs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'll go hotter and stuff like that. But again, it really has to have like that flavor for me. Like if it has to be smokier, it has to be or sweeter
Hmm.
in conjunction with that. In, and yeah,
Sorry, I was just gonna say I definitely do have a lot of respect for sweet hot sauces, and I think I definitely agree with you where it's like if it is just like, okay, this is pounding my taste buds, kind of for no
mhm,
reason. It's like, okay, sure, kind of. But I do like it when it especially has that extra bit of flavor to it.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
actually, it's adding the spice,
hmm,
and in some ways, like kind of the challenge for eating it, but also just sort of like, okay, this just makes it taste better overall.
yeah, yeah. And it's it's not hard to find a good hot sauce these days because there's so many now. Like there's
Yeah.
this insane amount.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also like I also kind of like making my own salsas and stuff, especially in the
Really?
summer when I'm grilling out and stuff. But I find that uh, jalapenos have been very like hit and miss. It could be hot or it could be
Hmm.
like like this bell pepper is spicier than this thing or whatever, and all that. But yeah, I digress. So when you have hot sauce, what do you are you usually like? Is it usually certain foods you like to put it on, or is it just like everything?
Literally everything. I put hot sauce on ice cream.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I have legit put it on just to like enjoy it, but it kind of started
Mhm.
off as being like a friends were being sarcastic about how I put on everything. So it's like, okay, ice cream. But no, it's better than it sounds. But yeah, kind of everything. Honestly, it's almost kind of become just like knee jerk reaction. I'm just setting the table, not even paying attention to what we're eating. I just put the hot sauce down a lot of the time.
Mhm.
Um, I go to my in-laws' house and whatever we're eating, just the hot sauce ends up on the table just because they know I'll probably end up putting it on there. Um,
They know.
so like eggs, pizza,
Yeah.
chicken, all sorts of stuff.
Hmm.
Trying to think of anything in particular. I I used to like put it into a lot of the spaghetti sauce I would make.
Okay.
Um, Somehow I kind of fell out of that. I don't know why I did. I definitely put on lasagna a lot.
Hmm.
I have my own little thing of Chipotle hot sauce. Not Chipotle the restaurant, just Chipotle flavored
Yeah, yeah.
um, at the fridge at work.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just at some point, late elementary, early middle, it just kind of became sort of like every meal what I try.
Yeah, yeah. It's uh, you know, my dad's Mexican, and growing up, it was always the thing, like whenever he would cook and he would make his salsa or whatever, like we would
Mhm.
have to, as we, when we're old enough, he would, we're like, oh, which one's not the hot one or whatever, because you don't, when you're smaller, and
Mhm.
he's like, oh, you gotta find out. So now, but now, I like the, Rasma bit, and I'm like, so when I know which one's the hot one, I'll have it, and I'm like, so did you not make a hot one today or what? Just to mess with him. But he's on to me about that though. But yeah, it's it's funny how but if I look back at it, I think like I was drawn to hot stuff pretty young too, like in
Mhm.
definitely preteen
Yeah.
ages and stuff like that. And it kind of is wild to me because now my daughter is hitting around that age, and I'm like, I can't imagine her have anything like hot or spicy like I was having at that time.
Well, it's weird where it's almost, I know I just like kind of compared to horror, but it is in some ways
Mhm.
like horror where a lot of people have this like kind of switch. It's almost like kind of random
Mhm.
who you are.
Yeah.
Like a switch where you're on, where you like love it, or it's off and you're like, what, why kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have very good friends and coworkers who it almost kind of feels like random whether or not they like horror movies. And I feel like the same's true with like spicy
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You know, my greatest accomplishment is that I've converted my wife to not a full on spicy hot person, enjoyer, but like she was very much like zero,
Hmm.
and now I've gotten her to at least tolerate this, tolerate like a good mid level heat, uh, and all that. So that way I don't have to worry too much about making anything too hot for her or anything like that if I'm cooking something.
My wife, she really likes this truffle hot sauce, and now of course I can't remember the brand. But it's like she's not super into spicy food
Mhm.
either. But this one like random hot sauce, she's just like she really loves it. You know? And it is good. It's legit really good to put on
Truffle
stuff.
hot sauce. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, how about comics? What comics or books or anything you've been reading lately? I know it's hard when we're making them to find time to do that, but sometimes some of us can do it and get some stuff read.
I've so like earlier today, I took all the graphic novels that I have checked out at the library and I just put them in a stack just to have them one place. And then I
Hmm.
measure the stack, and it's 2 feet high. Um, so yeah, I've definitely have plenty on my to read list. As far as comics go, I'm currently just finished reading the second or rereading the second volume of Phantom Road by Jeff Lemire. I don't know if you've
Okay.
gotten a chance to check that out.
I have not Jeff Lemire's stuff, even though it's everything I've read about it sounds like it's right up my alley. I
Hmm.
am woefully like, it's a woeful blind spot for
Yeah.
me
Hmm.
that I have not gotten into, which is something I should remedy for sure. Because for as long as I can remember, after getting back in the comics in the mid 2000s, I guess I've just have heard all of his projects. I'm like, oh yeah, and I like his art style and all that. I'm like, I should be reading this, and then I just
Hmm.
whatever comes up with all that. So
Yeah, he's put out some really great stuff, and I am enjoying Phantom Road a lot. Finished volume 2 this morning, going on to volume 3 tomorrow.
mhm.
And I mean, I like. I mean, it is horror, but also kind of goes to some very surreal places.
Okay.
And I feel like has a lot of um, sort of like humor you're not expecting. in some parts.
Mhm.
Like some part, like very bleak, but also I do appreciate the lighter moments that he puts in there, just kind of like break it up, which makes the bleaker parts even more bleak. Um, and that just almost feels like a rule with horror that you need that like those waves
Yeah,
in them.
yeah. You need the horror to have something to bounce off of to make it actually feel
Yeah,
terrible.
because if it's just like grim, it becomes a jacuzzi. You get
Yeah,
used to it. You know, it's like
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
that person got torn up. Well, same thing happened the previous page.
Yeah, it's like we're yeah, exactly, exactly.
Um, but so as far as comics go, I'm really enjoying that. I've actually been also rereading Hyperion, which by Dan Simmons. The first book, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's
I'm not sadly.
set in like distant future. It kind of does for me what I feel like H.P. Lovecraft does for a lot of other people,
Okay.
where it kind of really gets into like these higher beings as mysteries are kind of beyond our concept kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and just sort of just like kind of like our place in the universe. It does it in a different way than H.P. Lovecraft, but it's kind of ish in that direction,
Hmm.
even though it's a weird comparison. Um, but the first book in the series is kind of told in Canterbury Tale kind of way, where
Okay.
it's a group of pilgrims traveling, and as they travel on this mysterious planet called Hyperion, they kind of share stories with one another
Okay.
about their lives and how their lives have been kind of affected by this mysterious creature called the Shrike. It's fantastic read. I highly recommend it for everyone.
Yeah, I've been building up a list of prose stuff that I
Mhm.
just need to read finally and make time to go do because as much as I love comics, I don't hate the books with all them words either. And it's been a while since I've actually sat down with a novel and all that.
Mhm.
And George R. Martin's not going to come out with The Winds of Winter anytime soon, so I'm not going to have anything that I'm really anticipating uh just magically drop in my lap. So I need to go make my list and find my stuff and finally get through some of these books that I keep hearing about. And that definitely sounds interesting, so I'll make sure I'll add that to my list for sure.
The day when they have an actual release date for Winds of Winter, though,
I won't believe it. I won't. You know, I feel like I have to apologize to like Games of Thrones fans because I didn't get like I've never watched the show. My experience with the show is basically the cultural osmosis of people talking about it, clips, articles, and then whatever YouTube shorts that are fed into my
Mhm.
algorithm of it or whatever. And you know, I started reading the novels after the show came out, and what was the most recent one? Dance of Dragons was the
um,
most recent one.
the most recent Night of the Seven Kingdoms is that was I really liked. Like they
No,
did
I mean
one that
the
was.
most recent novel, the
Oh,
last.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was
Yes,
the
Dance
Dance
of
of
Dragons.
Dragons. So I had started reading right when that one came. I think when that one came out.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's my fault because I started reading it after that one came out. So now naturally the conclusions are not going to happen until well after. Just like I didn't get into Metallica until Reload came out in the mid 90s, and we had to wait till like 2002 2003 for the next album.
Hmm.
So it's all my fault because I got into it and now we all have to wait.
Yeah. Have you seen that? I've seen on YouTube footage of George R. R. Martin talking to Stephen King and being like, "How do you write so damn fast?"
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
and it's just like, and Stephen King starts like giving him advice. I'm like, dude, George, take notes.
Yeah, please, please, and yeah, I feel like it's um I also understand to some extent, like, he's gotten tied into having to work on the shows, and he's
Yeah.
really, and I feel like after his disappointment of how the main series ended, he really wanted to like dive into like the House of the Dragon stuff, and then he's like
Hmm.
got disappointed with that.
Yeah.
And now he's like got like the renewed like, oh, Knight of Seven Kingdoms, like he's trying to like, I guess, finally get that spark of the show or whatever, like that he probably hoping to get from the original show or whatever, the involvement and seeing all that come together. And I can see how that could like affect sitting down and writing and all these other things. But it's also like, come on, man. Come on, man.
No, I do agree with you that I do feel for him because I
Yeah.
could see like especially if they were going off his notes
Mm-hmm.
and how the show ended. I could see like a lot of people were disappointed by the ending of the show, as I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see that an ending like that could have been great done somewhat differently.
Yeah.
So maybe in his original plan for the books, it could have been great, but just the show just didn't nail it that great, that fantastic. And I can kind of see how like fan reaction was so low on the
Mm-hmm.
show's ending that yeah, he's going to get some serious some serious writer's block,
Yeah.
and that might be difficult for him
Yeah.
to move forward. Like, does he now change his plans? Like, and obviously I don't know how close the
Mm-hmm.
show's ending was to his plans, but it sounds like it was he at least gave them notes from what I
Well,
hear.
I have consumed a lot of like, I guess video essays and stuff about
Hmm.
like, people who are deep lore into the lore of the books and all that, comparing the
Yeah.
changes to the show and all that. And at by the time the show, reached its end, there were so many things it did not address, characters and all these things, all these plot
Hmm.
lines that would, in my thought, and I'm sure everyone else's, would drastically affect what the finale is,
Hmm.
because you have all these other things bubbling up under the surface, and just the characterizations of some of these characters are wildly different than the book, towards the end of the series and all that. So yeah, but I could also see like, yeah, they did have his notes, so maybe he's just like, man, they really fucked it, and maybe that's just messing with him a bit, because he's like, even though
Hmm.
like, it kind of comes to that thing where it's like, people are worried about like their idea, they see something that comes out similar to something they're thinking of. It's like, yeah, but that's their version of it, that's what they did, that's not what
Yeah.
you're gonna do.
Hmm.
Even if it's the exact same plot points and beats, like it's just, it's not through the filter of you.
Yeah.
And but I could see how that could mess with him, because even though he's probably, assuredly, a much more talented and creative person than the showrunners of that show, it's gonna mess with you. It's gonna say
Yeah.
like, oh wow, like I don't want to do that. But anyway, yeah. So long tangent aside, yes, Hyperion sounds great. That sounds like fun.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Hyperion.
like a fun, interesting book, to check out. In terms of metal, you did mention to me you're not a huge metal person or really into metal, and but you did ask, if I had any like thoughts about stuff for like good to write to with no vocals, any kind of like gateway stuff or anything like that. And
Hmm.
then you also mentioned something about something that's good to run to, and uh, being a former avid runner myself, I have thoughts on running music for sure. I don't run. I'm looking to pick it back up again, but I for a solid decade I was a big into running. I was doing half marathons and all that other
Nice.
stuff, and
Cool.
I think I overdid it just because I don't really like running. But for me, it was like the quickest, the most efficient way to like lose weight and stay
Hmm.
in some type of shape. And so I just
If you
kept
don't mind me
doing it.
asking, what half marathons?
Oh, mostly the Chicago area. Uh,
Cool.
I did the most fun one. The two were the most fun. I did the Indianapolis uh mini marathon, they call it. It's a half marathon,
Okay.
and that one was cool. I did that one a couple times because you get to run on the speedway,
Oh wow.
as you're walking, as you're running through. In Indianapolis, like the people like come out, so you're running through neighborhoods and there's people like cheering. And
Hmm.
the 2 years I was there, there's like these young kids and like a metal band playing at one corner and stuff like that. So that was cool. And old lady cheerleaders and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And Indianapolis was really a really cool destination to go do and all that. And the second one, it was the second to last one I did when I had my best time ever, and that was like a half trail,
Oh, wow.
half road run,
Okay.
in northern Illinois here. And that one was real fun because we started off in this nature preserve,
Hmm.
and we ran through, and there's lots of bike paths, running paths in northern Illinois that are real fun to kind of run through. And you could technically use the pass to run from Wisconsin to Chicago. You just have to like branch off here and there a little bit. But that was the most fun just because it was such a like new scenic vibe, I
Hmm.
guess. Because with the Chicago ones, I did a lot of ones in Chicago. I also did a lot of like 5Ks and 10Ks or whatever. And in Chicago, when you're running downtown Chicago, you kind of end up running in the same spots every single race because
Okay.
that's what's permitted. Oh, you
Hmm.
run down a Lower Wacker Drive where it's all you know where they kicked out all the homeless people, and then now you run through it, or then you run past the football stadium and all that. And like the first couple of times, it's cool to be running and all that, but then seventh, eighth, ninth time, you're like, all right, what's not? Yeah, I've been there, done that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Baltimore Marathon, which we've done 3 times, is really cool with how much you see of the city. But we've
Yeah.
definitely done some races where it just felt um, like we did one that was Kiowa Island that just felt like you were in a maze. You were just like in this suburban neighborhood
Hmm.
that seemed to go on forever. And you were just like, like I have no idea where we are in the course or how far
Hmm.
we are from
Hmm.
the finish line. Just like you're like, okay, I hope there's a giant piece of cheese at the end of this maze,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think last I counted, I think I did 15 half marathons.
Oh, nice. Wow, that's cool.
Um, and the funny thing is, when I'm looking at the list of them, I think it was a couple years ago, I was looking at the list of them. I don't remember a bunch of them. I'm like, what? Because they all kind of blend together. Like, did this happen during this race? Like, was this the race I forgot to take off my glasses, so I had to carry my glasses the whole time, and that's all I could think about? Or was this the race where they had the markings messed up and people like were finishing in like half the time, and they thought they're and they were pissed off because they didn't have it clearly marked where to go, so people were like cutting through half the course. But anyway, it's for me, running was definitely like when I was trying to do it for music and all that. I was definitely the type of person who was like, I need to like get to that point to where I'm just not thinking about running. Like I'm lost in
Mhm.
the my head.
Yeah.
Because if the minute I'm thinking about, because a lot of people are like, there's some people I know who are like, oh no, I don't run with music, or like I like to focus on my breathing. That keeps me going. And I'm like, no, that'll screw me up. Like I just need to kind of like my brain and stuff to go on autopilot.
Hmm.
That's when I would get those that experience that quote unquote runner's high and things like that. And for me, running music, like it was rock, metal stuff, sometimes more cinematic stuff, nothing slow or whatever. But the stuff I always felt was I always mostly had on there was finding that the BPM to match my stride.
Yeah.
And that was real critical for me. Like at least having um one of those like the right BPM song for my pace, like every few songs, so I can
Okay.
kind of like reset it as I'm going. Because there's again the idea of like getting lost in my own head. There's definitely songs where like maybe they weren't the most like oh, this is on a running list or whatever, but like that song though would cause me to like go there, and it was just upbeat enough to where it wasn't like a ballad or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Hmm.
So I had a lot of like what was a good one for me? What was it? The original soundtrack for the for Daredevil when it came on Netflix.
Okay, so the
The
when it came
original.
out, the 2010s one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's a track. Oh, I think it's Fogwell's Gym.
Okay.
It's like a perfect like montage, kind of like sports montage almost kind of song in terms like but like cinematic, like kind of like half synth, half orchestral kind of thing. That one was always a good one to kind of like have in there to kind of let my brain wander a little bit and all that. A
I
lot, yeah,
just finished watching Born Again. I mean, we all
yeah,
just finished
yeah,
watching.
yeah. We finished up too. Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't gone back to the original Netflix for a while, but I'll have to check out their soundtrack.
Well, just that one particular song. And I think it was when we first started watching the show when it came out, like that song was on, I think like during like a training montage, literally
Yeah.
training montage for Matt. And I'm like, sounds like a pretty good song to like run to or something. And for me, it was. Um, so like with people who write, like I can't write with lyrics. Sometimes if I'm working out or running, I mean, um, I I kind of prefer instrumental, because that just that provides that little gateway to my brain to open up a little bit. So like that, or like the Pacific Rim theme. I've
Hmm.
literally run a full hour run just with that theme on repeat. It could be my ADHD talk doing that too, but but that one's definitely done it, and stuff like that. But yeah. So what kind of stuff do you actually run with music a lot, or are you someone who needs it, or is this like it's nice to have?
No, I need something
Yeah.
playing. Yeah, I especially with really really long runs, like with short
Mhm.
like mini runs or
Yeah.
whatever, it's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal. But with the longer ones, I've actually been listening to audiobooks while
Okay.
running. Some which it varies to actually Game of Thrones because it's
Okay.
like I know the story
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I have noticed that as much as I love horror,
Hmm.
listening to horror books while I'm running is not because it's like, especially with the long ones, where it's just like I'm sweating, exhaustive, run like 12,
Hmm.
15 miles, and
Yeah. Yeah.
meanwhile, like someone's describing something horrible in my
Yeah.
ear, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, this isn't as much fun as it would be if I was like in my living room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I
So
imagine. Yeah. You definitely want to give yourself more of a vibe with that
yeah.
kind of stuff going on.
One book that's really good to run to was When the Moon Hits Your Eye. It's a really recent one. Actually, I've the author, one of his books right here. John Scalzi
Okay.
wrote it. But yeah, just in general, even if for people who aren't into running,
Hmm.
it's a good book just to check out When the Moon Hits Your
Yeah.
Eye.
I've tried running, not necessarily to audiobooks, but to like story podcasts or something like that,
Mhm.
and I just can't. That's just not something I could do. Like I'll be at the gym now and I'll see people on the treadmills like reading a book, and I'm like, God bless you. I cannot. Like that's just not me. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely just not there. And
For me, I'm just on the cusp where it's just like sometimes it's good and
mhm,
sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is getting a little obnoxious.
yeah,
Usually it's like, okay, for the first 5 miles, I might listen to a book and then I switch over to music.
yeah. And you've done full on marathons, so that's like
Mhm.
twice the like just I've given up the not that I've really had a huge drive to, but I've given up any like idea of like doing a full marathon. I run to I'm too heavy footed for my own
Mhm.
sake, and I don't have the drive to really focus and like fix my stride.
Mhm.
So I don't have the drive to like, oh man, I really want to, because at my even then at my fastest I wasn't like super fast. I was like,
I'm not either.
I think my fastest was like, I think I was doing like 830 miles
Okay.
on like, for like a 15K or something like that.
Mhm.
And, you know, that's far from like fast. I mean, when I was a teenager and wrestling, like I did like a 6 minute and a 6:30 minute mile back to back once.
Okay.
And then of course, and when I picked up running like 10 years later after high school, I'm like, oh, I used to be able to do that. No. No, you're right.
Mhm.
I was stuck at the, in the nines for a good long while. And right now I'm just feeling like I just need to get back to where I want to be able to comfortably do a 5K, like,
Okay.
at any point. I feel like that's a good, a good, range of like just regular cardio fitness to have. Like
Hmm.
you can run, you know, 3.1 miles, you know, without like dying. That's cool. Like that seems fair, Yeah. So, I'm hoping I'm going to start trying to pick that back up. Uh, since I've been mostly focused on like strength training for the past few years. So, but yeah, so maybe this conversation will help me kickstart really, really making sure I get back into it, instead of
Ho-
just keep talking about it to myself.
Hopefully. Um, I'm right. We're not training for any marathons right now because my wife is very busy with like some classes she's doing.
Hmm.
But we're planning on doing a Via Ferrata. Have you heard of those? We're going
I
out to
can't say I have.
Colorado. So basically, it's like an iron rungs are like stuck in the side of a mountain,
Okay.
and you basically climb them, and that's how
Oh,
you climb up the mountain. And we've done two before, and I've really enjoyed them. Both of those were
mhm.
like two of the best days of my life. So, high expectations for the one out in Colorado, I guess. So that's what I've been trying to train for, which I have
Okay.
like very little upper body strength. I'm all like lower, which I mean, takes a lot of lower body because you're pushing yourself up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's basically what I'm training for right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of climbing stuff is very demanding to your cardio, and people don't really expect that to be. Because yeah, it definitely in high school, like my school had like regular gym, and then you could also like sign up for something they call an adventure gym, which where you
Oh, that
got
sounds
to
good.
do they had like a climbing wall and stuff like that. So you got to do that for your gym class as opposed to a regular gym class.
I
And I
wish
got
we
to
had
do that. Yeah, I got to do that junior and senior year, and that was fun. And I really enjoyed climbing and all that. But I never, unfortunately, there wasn't a ton of places to like affordably do it when I was younger, and now there's a ton. I can think of like 5 or 6 places in the general area to do it, but now I just don't have time.
that. Hmm.
So I'm hoping once my kids get a little bit older, I can kind of get them into. That definitely seems like something they'd be into, just being little monkeys. But like, those kinds of things really, like, what was it, the Tough Mudder races?
Yeah, we've done one
I
of
mean,
those.
yeah, as like kind of like kitschy as they kind of be can be, like, I know they're gonna be tough, and it just
Hmm.
seems like a more fun thing to do than like, running on a road for 13 miles. It's like, this just change it up a little bit, but
Yeah, ours was fun. The main problem with the one that we did was they changed the date on us, so it was 1 week after we had run a marathon.
oh,
So, I mean, we've recovered mostly from that, but it
yeah,
was still like we were still kind of
yeah,
tired.
yeah,
Um, and of course, and my wife is very enthusiastic about this kind of stuff, like very
hmm,
competitive, and so she wanted to do the full Tough Mudder,
yeah,
everything. But at least I've only done this one, so I don't know about
mhm,
the others. But at least with this one, of course, everyone does the giant obstacles, like the things that
yeah,
are on the posters and stuff.
yeah.
And we paid extra so we could like the extra obstacles we got was like carrying a sack kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
okay, here's like a
This seems less
sack
fun.
full of rocks.
Yeah.
Now you give your partner a piggyback ride, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's like, okay, we could have done like the shorter one, saved some money, and still just done the really
Yeah.
cool things. You know,
Do the ones they actually advertise as
yeah,
to get people to do them. Yeah, I've been meaning. There's a couple around me I've been meaning to do, but yeah, it's just finding the time to train for it and go do it. And
yeah,
then again, having young kids, it's like, okay, guys,
yeah.
let's wake up at the crack of dawn so you can come to some that loud, dirty place, and watch daddy do a thing while you just sit there.
That would go
and,
over so well, I'm sure.
you know, um, yeah, we've tested the water with my wife doing a couple doing some 5Ks and all that, but at least those were like near like a park. So it's
Hmm.
like, okay, we see mommy go mommy, go to play in the park for a while. Okay, mommy should be finishing soon. Let's go cheer her on at the end, you know.
Hmm.
So that kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, a bug my wife and I had before kids, and we're trying to we're getting that feeling again where we just want to kind of do those things, and also, you know, to show our kids like, hey, you know, this is fun stuff to fun healthy stuff to do for yourself,
Yeah.
and it
Hmm.
can be really cool, and all that. Um, so we've drifted pretty far off the topic of like music and metal and all that, but like you did, you know, in the spirit of trying to like offer some suggestions to you to kind of like convert you a little bit to the metal side and all that, on top of, you know, giving you some stuff that doesn't have vocals into it and all that.
Hmm.
I've been talking about this band a lot recently, it feels like, but they're called Dance with the Dead.
Okay.
And are you familiar with like John Carpenter's movie scores? Like, do you
Oh yeah.
listen to those much?
Oh yeah.
So
Hmm.
imagine that, but like the metal knob turned up just a little bit, like more
Okay.
guitars, more kind of riffy kind of stuff, and it's very much that.
Okay. I
Um,
can definitely see that.
I would check out their album Out of Body. That's like the
Out of body. Okay.
best one. And then, you know, I feel like they fall into the metal genre, but you know, a lot of people might disagree with me, but like Carpenter Brute, they definitely are in the same vein of that, especially their latest album where it's very cinematic, very, you know, storytelling esque in terms of like just the music, but it's, you know, all instrumental, very synth heavy, but
Okay.
also has that the, you know, some guitars and some of that kind of a vibe to it to go with it. And I think those would be good starting points, I think, for like getting into that kind of stuff, and bringing some you know, metal flavor to stuff you're listening to. Because I did check out that VNV Nation band you mentioned,
Hmm.
and I dug it. I'm glad you mentioned it because I'm like, oh, I can, you know, dig my teeth into some of this at some point. And I think those two bands I just mentioned kind of, you know, they aren't like drastically removed, I
Hmm.
think, from the sound of that, I think, or at least in terms of like, you know, because the VNV Nation sounds very synth heavy,
Yeah.
you know, and
Hmm.
melodic, and that's what these bands have. They just have the more aggressive edge to it, I guess.
Cool. I'll definitely have to check it out. Yeah.
Um,
You mentioned John Carpenter. You had me at John Carpenter
yeah, yeah.
because
I mean,
I do love his music.
yeah, you know,
Um,
it's you know, it's warming up over here in the Midwest. So now my neighbors get to hear all my favorite bands nice and loud when I'm in the garage or grilling. I'm the only guy in the neighborhood that think listens to anything that's not pop, hip hop, or
Yay.
Mexican banda music. So, you know, you know, I'm trying to expand my neighbors' horizons, so they get to learn some John Carpenter too, especially,
Whether they
yeah,
like it or not.
you know, and I'm not, you know, I'm not a D about it, but I do have a good sized Bluetooth boombox
Mhm.
that I'm not afraid to turn up during the day if I'm doing something. And you know, my neighbors are going to find out my garage needs to be cleaned out, so they're going to find they're going to be jamming out with some John Carpenter soon for sure. um
Are they at least cool about it?
I've got zero complaints. Like
Okay, good.
they can complain because they're just as bad with their they're, you know, that's the only reason I'm even like I even let it go as loud as I do is because
Hmm.
they do, and
Hmm.
I don't complain about them, so that because it's like, okay, you know, only if it's like at, you know, late at night, and it's like, all right guys, like, but like 90% of my neighbors are respectful to that. Like occasionally someone will have a party that goes on a little too long or whatever, but you know, you take it in stride best you can. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I'm only matching the vibe. I'm not instigating
Hmm.
a music
Yeah.
war, but I will if I have to. I will. I have bigger. You know, I have my a giant bass guitar amp that I can just plug in, and it won't sound great, but it'll be loud as shit, and I guarantee they won't have anything that compete with it.
Hmm.
Anyway, enough yammering about that. Let's talk about your book, The Secret Lives of Demon Hunters. Like I said, you sent the preview on to me. I was able to check it out and read it. Really cool stuff. Really great. Visually, looks awesome. The art by Jack Van. Is it Van Thom? Tom?
Tommy,
Tommy. Okay, Jack Van
Jack Van
Tommy.
Tommy.
Who unfortunately couldn't swing it to be here on the pod, but the art looks fantastic. And yeah, so if you can let us know a little bit about Secret Lives of Demon Hunters.
Yeah, I'd love to. So essentially, it's a one-shot horror comic that follows Ashley and Jordy, and they are a seemingly normal married couple. And however, when the sun sets, they grab their holy water and tasers, and they fight demons. And the comic is set over the course of a single evening where they face a demon from Ashley's past, and they start to question not only their battle against the forces of evil, but also the relationship with each other. And so I had lots of fun writing this. It actually started off as a short for an anthology. I was going to put a bunch of my short comics into an anthology, but it was pointed out that I really needed to take the story and expand on it. So it's its own 24-page comic right now. And I'll be distributing it through, I have a Kickstarter campaign coming up on June 16th. So I'm really excited for that.
Awesome. And I'll make sure there's links to all that in the show notes. Again, I was checking out the preview. I really like the premise. It's really in the preview really sets the mood and the tone. And Jack's artwork is just really embodies the vibe. I think of the story you're putting down here, and the comfortableness of like how quickly we settled. And kudos to you for because the dialogue and the pacing, everything. You as a reader, just reading those few pages, like you quickly settle into like who these people are, the relationship, their dynamic a little bit, and I know that's not an easy thing to do, to quickly get people to like get comfortable with the character right off the bat and all that, and with it being a one shot and all that, you've nailed it like right at the beginning. And one thing Jack does with the artwork that I really appreciate as an artist myself is his choice to have like a hard ink outline on the figures, like the backgrounds and all that don't have this hard ink outline on them. It has, it's all washes and stuff like that. And it creates a very surreal yet grounded like feeling throughout the book too, which only obviously enhances what's going on with the story, and obviously because there's definitely spooky crazy stuff that's going to be happening and all that. So, and also looking at the preview now, and knowing now your appreciation of hot sauces, there's a little gag in here about Tabasco.
Yeah.
that is now reading much different to me now than initially reading it.
I might not appreciate Tabasco sauce quite as much as I should.
You know what? I'm not going to distract by talking more hot sauce again, but I don't entirely disagree with you. That's for sure. So, you mentioned this kind of started off as like a short for and all that, but like where was the kind of like the impetus of the story, and was the journey to get it to where it is now? You mentioned that there's a previous artist on the book who perhaps wasn't going through the most ethical means of producing the art, and I'm more than willing to speak poorly about about it, but I will give I won't thrust that upon you, but like what was the journey from kind of like impetus to where it is now for you with this book?
Well, basically, like I said, and I still have those shorts, and I would, one of them is actually being published. I was also illustrated by Jack in the Blood Coven Moon Magic anthology, and that has a little boy in it whose name happens to be Geordie. who's the same name as the man. And so my thought was, okay, this will be how Jordy discovers, when he was a child, discovers this like supernatural world
Mm-hmm.
exists. And now we cut to him being an adult. And you don't need to have read this short at all to get this. That's just its own story. But I like the idea of, okay, I'm going to have demon hunters in this world, people fighting the forces of evil, but then also, okay, like kind of getting a little bit of hints of what their actual normal lives, thus the secret
Mm-hmm.
lives of demon hunters. So they're married. What's their marriage like? What's their relationship like? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that sort of was kind of the core of this. And that's where it all like kind of came out from there. The original short was a very similar-ish story, but I definitely was able to expand and like kind of enter their world a little bit more. As far as you made reference to a previous artist, yeah. So I had the script written. I reached out to an artist. I did my best to do my research,
Mm-hmm.
and she started sending me some really great stuff, some wonderful illustrations. I was really excited. And then I discovered that AI was being used. And this was right when the finish line of the
Yeah.
comic was. We
Oh,
were like a few pages away. I think it was a 24-page comic. We were on page 20 was when I found out. And I talked to her about that. And yeah, so I canceled the whole thing. There was no choice whatsoever. I then had to scrub um, all of her artwork because this has been going on for
mm-hmm.
months. Like I put it all over my Instagram and Facebook, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
now I
yeah, for
didn't
sure.
want AI helped images, and so that was not a fun afternoon for me.
No, I can imagine.
Going through my history and just deleting all of these posts because I didn't want that stuff on there. And I made everyone aware of who had like, okay, um, that what had happened. And so, trying to be very forthright and that I was disconnecting myself from this artist. I took a few months off, worked on
Mm-hmm.
other stuff during that time, licked my wounds, and then I did get back. And, I got Jack, who is
Yeah,
awesome, like you
yeah,
said, and he really breathed life into this story. Um, and, so silver lining, but more of the
mm-hmm.
story gets,
Yeah,
and trust me, I am doing this right now. Um, in contracts with illustrators, have a no AI clause,
yeah,
please.
yeah.
Do that. That is definitely a core memory that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. That like every illustrator I've worked with since then
Mm-hmm.
totally 1,000% gets it.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I am not accusing you of using AI, but I still, and that they appreciate that I am still taking that effort.
No, and it's really unfortunate that that was the case for you, but I
Yeah,
think you handled it like in the absolute best way anyone could possibly have handled that
thank you.
situation. Like you didn't know, but you're like you suspected, and you're like, you know what? No, I don't want the story, my work associated with this. And you did the hardest thing. Like you were so close to the finish line. You could have just kind of ignored it and like, well, we're so close to being done, and then after the fact I could say, oh well, I didn't know. And but like, no, you
No.
did the right thing. You're like, no, this isn't right, because as a creative yourself, like it's just, yeah, it's AI sucks. don't you don't do it. And yeah,
Hmm.
people should have no AI clauses in their stuff. In the collected edition of my book, we have a little logo on the back proudly stating like this, no AI was used in this. Like
Hmm.
this is, you know yeah, I'm not going to go on anti-AI rant, because everyone knows, anyone who's listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
I am assured there are people who are in the same thought as we are about it all. So I'm not going to preach to the choir here, but yeah, I'm glad you were able to find the wind for your sails again, to get this going again, and find Jack, and get that partnership going and all that. When Jack came on, was there any changes to the story working with him as an artist? Um, even though it was like the second go round of getting pages for this book for yourself, were there things that for you even that you're like, you know what? Now that I've had some time, like let's readjust this, let's do this. Was there any kind of like playing around with the story after that?
Yeah, definitely. And it is a better story. Like, grasping for silver linings,
Hmm.
it is a better story. There's a scene towards the beginning where Jordy and Ashley are kind of just flirting.
Hmm.
And that wasn't there at all with the earlier one. And I'm so glad it is because it just sets up their relationship before things get bad. Um, you know, and it's sort of like, this might be a weird comparison, like Lord of the Rings. You have to see the Shire and understand
Oh
how
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
this world is before we get to Mordor and see how horrible it is. And
yeah,
I just didn't have enough of the Shire at the beginning of the original
yeah.
version. So I'm really glad that I was able to put that scene in. And the ending changed completely, but of course, I'm not going to go into detail about
Right,
that.
yeah. We keep some surprise for everything. No, that's great. And I think as mentioned before, you got to have that balance with horror can't be you can't have the intensity of a horror story without having something to bounce it off of. Like,
Hmm.
and while there's a place for things that are just balls to the wall insane, not everything is like that. and um
And that is
yeah,
great. Balls to the Wall Insane is absolutely
yeah,
like, I mean, I think one fantastic example is the 28 Days Later movies.
mhm,
Pretty much all of them have, like the first 28 years movie, like very much has like a basis of family and like a
yeah,
community, like that community that you have at the beginning and all that stuff. And then of course you have some very gory, like infected stuff going on throughout, but you do have that kind of ebb and flow kind of thing.
yeah,
The first 28 Days Later, which is arguably the most intense of all of them, has some
mhm,
fairly funny, kind of sweet moments in it too. If you just
yeah,
like look at just those moments,
yeah, yeah, for
and so
sure.
that was the kind of thing I was trying to do also with this.
Yeah, and I'm always as much as I am a child of the 80s and 90s, and my tastes in horror leaning towards like the splatter effects, uh why am I just why am I spacing on the actual term for this? Makeup effects and things like
Mhm.
that. Um, as much as I have my roots in horror with that kind of crazy stuff, I do, I do feel like, I need to have that ebb and flow, even with music, even with stories that are not horror, you have to have those dynamics with everything, as for every artist who loves drawing for everyone who thinks like artists love drawing the fight scenes the most, which they are fun to do.
Yeah.
But there's also the moments before that to make it reason to make you to give us like the excitement of like, here's why we're fighting. Like this is why the fighting thing means something, as opposed to just having arbitrary arbitrary action, which again at times has its place. but
Oh,
but
definitely. Do
yeah,
you mind if I
I
ask what your favorite is? You said 80s and 90s.
well, I mean, if I'm going to like my favorite like horror movie of all time, it is probably The Thing.
Nice. Hmm.
Um, but I did grow up as a kid with um far too little supervision and cable, and so there's plenty of things that uh there's like movies like I just remember parts of, and I don't even remember what they were until like years later, until like all these YouTube channels started doing these schlocky movie like I didn't realize I had seen like all the basket case movies um until like I was just going, or if someone did a retrospective on all the basket case movies. I'm like, oh man, I remember watching all these fucked up movies,
When I
or
was
just
a
like all the
little,
random slasher movies that were coming out in the 80s, or like what was it? What was that one movie? I forget what it's called now, but they had something at the end called, I think it's called the shunting, where like all these bodies like form into this giant mass of like,
Are you talking about Society?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like I had no idea, like I don't even remember anything really about that movie except for that scene and having
Hmm.
seen it.
That is the scene to remember from that
You
movie.
know, and then I think I was literally, what was it, like the Dead Meat channel doing a kill count on it, or someone else was doing it or something, and I just remember like that scene popped up. I'm like, oh wait, I've seen this.
Hmm. That
Yeah.
totally happened when I was a little kid. Probably way too young. I happened to come across American Werewolf in London
Okay.
on TV, and there's like the scene. I think it's like a dream sequence where a bunch of like wolf Nazi monsters like kind of burst into the suburban home and like start like killing everybody,
Hmm.
and that freaked me out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Um, and that just stuck with me. And I was like, what movie? Like, as I was always like, what was that? And I
Hmm.
randomly was watching, like, for some reason or another, I kept almost watching because I knew American Werewolf in London, it's a classic. And it wasn't until just a few years ago, I happened to be watching that movie with my wife. And I was like, oh my God, I've
That's where
seen
that
it.
was
Like,
from.
this
It
is,
wasn't some fever dream I had.
yeah, like, this is something that actually exists.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. But so I practical effects. There it is. There's the word.
Yeah,
You know,
there you go.
I'm a fan of practical effects. So even if
Yes.
they are not, even if it's like obviously practical effect and not like the most well done thing, I do have an appreciation for it.
Hmm.
Um, and there's just so much of that stuff that I've ingested either through like just osmosis, or in my very first book, there's a scene with a scientist doing an experiment or whatever, and somehow I managed to homage Reanimator,
Hmm.
though I've never seen it.
Really?
And the writer pointed it out to me. He's like, dude, I love this homage to Reanimator. I'm like, what are you talking about? And like it's literally like the scene with like the liquid with the needle pulling like a
Hmm.
head out of a tray, like all these things. And I'm like, I've never actually seen the movie.
Hmm.
Like like I've seen, I think probably enough imagery from it. I guess it just and or maybe I have seen it when I was a kid and I just blocked it.
There's a cultural osmosis,
Yeah.
you know.
And there's so much of that stuff. My wife often is like, how do you know this? I'm like, just osmosis. Like I like too many things and I listen to too many things and watch too many things to where it's like I don't even remember if I've actually watched a thing or if I've just listened to like 4 or 5 YouTube channels talk about it
Yeah.
in an essay.
I was visiting my parents like this past weekend, and I was just talking about movies that are coming up that
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to. And by the way, if you hear squeaking, that's my cat. She just
Okay.
wants attention. I'm petting her under the table. But my mom, she asked me, like, how do you know all these movies? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I know all this stuff about all these upcoming movies. It just somehow you pick it up here and there.
I know so much about like professional wrestling. I don't watch professional wrestling. Like all my friends watch it online. They talk about it. I get it
Hmm.
in my feed. Like for some reason, like when I'm like doing dishes or whatever, I'll like let like YouTube Shorts play or whatever,
Hmm.
and like I'm learning like about like basketball history. And I'm like, I don't watch basketball, and like, but it's also enjoyable to me because I'm learning that like Larry Bird was like the most notorious shit talker of all time, and like people are like recounting stuff he said to them. I'm like, man, this man was vicious. Like, and just because it's just these things like, and all of a sudden like I have this information in my head now.
Hmm.
you
It
know
lives there rent free.
yeah, it's just gonna be there. Didn't ask for it, just showed up. Here we go.
I don't know the password to whatever website I need, but
Exactly,
I do know
exactly,
this fact about a 1970s horror film.
exactly. So fun times, fun times. So I won't keep you any later. It's been a blast talking to you, Michael. I'll have to have you back on with Jack and all that, hopefully for another book.
Well, thank you for
um
having us, or thank
you're
you for
well,
having me.
yeah. Welcome back anytime. Everyone, please go check out Secret Lives of Demon Hunters on Kickstarter. Make sure to link in the show notes below to go either, depending on when we can get this out, either go back it right now if you're listening, or sign up for I'm sure there'll be a pre-launch page.
It's up right now.
Up right now. Okay, even better. To go check it out. I'll definitely be backing it. It looks really, really awesome. Art looks great. Stories, really fun and engaging. And again, like I said, you got me in with the preview, and yeah, that's I'm in for it. And if there's anything else you'd like to mention about it, Michael, and now is the time.
That's about it. Kickstarter is going to be kicking off on June 16th. It was a lot of fun to write, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Awesome. Mike, thank you once again for your time. Really appreciate it. Everyone, please, again, go check it out. Links in the show notes below. And that's it. See you around.
Thank you.